I would never put a styptic on a wound, like a cut or an abrasion. So that's the first rule. If it's on a nail or a beak, it's going to stop the bleeding, and the excess gel is just going to fall away, or it's going to be licked away, and it's not going to cause any problems down the road to repair whatever was bleeding. But don't put it on an open wound like a laceration or an abrasion. So I mentioned some miscellaneous supplies I think you should have in your little box. Band-Aids, because you're probably going to get bit, and you need to take care of yourself so you can continue taking care of your bird. You need some waterless hand cleaner. You don't want to run to the other end of the house to wash your hands. Just have it right there and clean up before you do what you need to do. I'm getting old, so I have to have magnification to see most of what I do, and a light and magnifying glass really helps. A pad and paper, a pad and pen. Take notes on what you do for your bird, what happened to your bird, how your bird responded to those treatments. So when you go to your veterinarian, you've got everything right there. You don't have to rely on your memory under a stressful condition on what happened and what you did. And finally, you need some contact information for your veterinarian and the Poison Control Center. Put a little index card or write it in your notepad, keep it in the front of that, works real well too. Am I in your way? So find a veterinarian, take your bird in while it's healthy before you need an emergency treatment. It's a good idea to establish a relationship, have your bird seen as a healthy bird. That way your veterinarian is more prepared to recognize abnormal because he's seen your bird when he or she's seen your bird when it was normal. It also makes that 2 a.m. phone call a little easier if they know you and your bird. So finding a veterinarian is pretty easy these days. AAV.org is the Association of Avian Veterinarians. They have a list of veterinarians who see birds. And then there's the board-certified site who lists all the board-certified veterinarians. The National Poison Control Center numbers, you're welcome to write those down. They do charge for that, so have a credit card ready. But they're very good at what they do. They handle bird emergencies and people emergencies and everything. If that 900 number turns up to be a sexy voice, I copied it out of a book. So let's say one does arise, and the first thing I think about is what was inscribed on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't panic. So if you ever read Douglas Adams, you know what I'm talking about. Remain calm, that's the first thing. Take a deep breath. If you're calm, you're better able to deal with these emergency situations. You want to get your bird out of danger. Go get your supplies. Restrain your bird. And assess his condition. If you do that, we'll be in good shape. So, you're going to assess your bird's condition. Is he breathing? If he's not breathing, put him on a towel in a carrier and go see your veterinarian. Is he conscious? If he's not conscious, put him on a towel, go see your veterinarian in a cage. Real important. And is he bleeding? If he's bleeding, stop the bleeding. From there, you're going to provide first aid and general supportive care, and you're going to call your veterinarian. So what is general supportive care? You're going to do this no matter what happens to your bird. You're going to put him in a heated hospital cage, make sure he's got easy access to food and water, and you're going to watch him for any changes. That's basic general supportive care. So, any case of injury or illness, this is what you're going to do. You're going to put him in a heated hospital cage, make sure he's got easy access to food and water, and observe him for changes. Don't use a heat lamp for heat. Heat lamps are very bad. They can cause skin burns. They dry out the eyes and the mucous membranes, and you can't leave them on overnight because there's a light burning and your bird's not going to get any sleep. Heating pads you can leave on 24 hours a day and you don't have to worry about any of those things. You can't use your body to warm a bird. I see so many emergencies come in with the bird clutched on a chest, wrapped in a towel. They get out of their car with the bird exposed and come into the clinic. And the thought process behind this is, oh, I'm keeping my bird warm. Well, that's really not what you're doing. You're actually making your bird colder. And the reason for that is our body temperature is only 98.6. And the bird's body temperature is 105. And the basics behind physics of heat is it goes from where it's hottest to where it's cooler. And so you're just sucking the heat out of your sick bird by holding him right here. In addition to that, he's going to be pretty stressed. This is a prey species, and the only thing going through his mind is, I'm about to be eaten. They know I'm sick, I'm going to be eaten. And so you're just stressing that bird. He needs to be in a cage, on heat, on his way to the vet. Don't use any over-the-counter medications. Pet stores all around sell that junk. It's not going to do your bird any good. It's going to hide symptoms, and it's going to make it much more difficult to diagnose the problem when the time comes. So no OTC meds, no human medications, no meds that were prescribed for other pets, even other birds. You just give them supportive care, basic first aid, and take them in. And I apologize for using him. I know there are female birds out there. It's just so much easier than saying he, she, it. Never want to use those greasy ointments I mentioned earlier. You know, they are going to get smeared into the feathers, and their feathers don't keep them as warm when they're covered in greasy ointments. Just think about the oil spills and all those birds that have to swim through the oil and what ends up happening to them. And this is just on a smaller scale, but the same thing occurs. Their feathers can't thermoregulate if they're covered in oil. It might sound silly to say, but it does happen. So don't bathe them. And I really don't like putting them in dim light. Birds really don't like dim light. And it seems to depress them. It certainly prevents them from eating, and that's the last thing you want to do for a sick bird is stop them from eating. So, you know, normal light, you're going to cover it with a towel anyway. He's going to sit in the shadows if he wants to, but at least he has the choice. Beyond the supportive care that we've been talking about, heat and rest, you're going to administer first aid depending on what kind of emergency you're dealing with. So we're going to talk about these 8, and this is a fraction of the emergencies that I get calls about, but these are probably the most common ones. And if I don't cover one, feel free to ask me. Source, I guess if you're careful, but I do see ferret attacks. Hawks commonly, rarely do they live through them, but I have seen that. And raccoons typically are an outdoor problem for outdoor aviaries. But I have one client with a blue and gold. A raccoon's broken into her house twice, and the second time almost killed her blue and gold. So it does happen. It's rare, but it does happen.